We've all had stories growing up, narratives that were told to us or perceptions that we had as children about things that happened in our lives. And some of those things created adverse effects that trickle into our adulthood, decisions, things that happen amongst family, things like that. So today we are continuing our coaching session with Dorian. Last week we gave him an assignment, or excuse me, I gave him an assignment to kind of touch base with a conversation with his grandmother. So we're going to talk about that right after this. What is mindset? Our mindset is based on what we believe, and anything we believe in, we put into motion. I have spent my life putting the mindset of perseverance into motion, and now I am here today to share my journey along with others whose mindsets have changed the course of their lives. Hi, I'm Mindset Coach Lorraine Lindsey, and I believe that if you can change your mind, you have the power to change your life. So are you ready? Welcome back to another episode of The Mindsetters, where we believe that if you can change your mind, you have the power to change your life. I am your host, Coach Lorraine Lindsey, a certified peak performance life coach. And I am going to jump right into the show. We're following up from last time that we were here, where I was doing a live coaching session with the brave Dorian Warmsley. And I want to kind of recap a little bit before we go into you having done your work and what the results were of that work. And, you know, I've posted a clip of some of that part of that session that we had last time we were here. And man, it got a lot of people talking, a lot of response from people, a lot of people who can relate to having these childhood narratives. So let's give a little texture for those who haven't seen the previous episodes, and also a little bit of a background on you for those that don't really know how we came to this coaching for you and I. So do you want to go ahead and share your journey, like about the journey with alcoholism, the falling out of the window, which is how we first came on the show. Talk to us about your sobriety and why coaching was important to you, and then give us a little back on where we are today and what the assignment was. I know I just loaded that on you, but you got this. You got this.
So we met. Initially, I reached out to you. I was looking to get on a platform, share my story, and also help promote an event I had going on for mental health to help support first responders here in Vegas. And as I came on here and we started talking about the things I've been through in life, it intrigued me that I eventually wanted to get a life coach. I already thought about it before I came on the show, and just what happened, you are one. So then after the first show, we kind of talked about it, and moving from forward, you decided to start coaching me and helping me help me make better decisions that I was looking to get, needed help making decisions. And I felt like I was stuck, especially being an entrepreneur at the time. And I just need a little bit of guidance. And one thing you pointed out a lot was a lot of blind spots. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing I really didn't even know that I had. And it just helped me a lot, because I feel like I have a good sense of self-awareness, but only to a certain extent.
No, that's true though. And that even goes for me. Like, although I'm a coach, I do need coaching as well. And I do get coaching and things like that also, because there are blind spots, and you can create these awarenesses and be aware to a point, but then you may still feel like you're stuck in certain places, right? I just want to clarify too, because a lot of people are asking me if I'm a therapist or a counselor, and the answer is absolutely not, right? I am not here to diagnose anybody. I don't treat diagnoses. I don't medicate people. If people are struggling with any mental health issues, I highly, highly suggest that they do seek professional help with therapy or counseling. And then once they get through that, then to come and see a coach. Because my thing is not to tell you what to do, to diagnose you with labels of things. My job, like you actually, because you actually coach me physically, is to help that mental coaching thing to get you like where you need to be. It's like, it's muscle memory of the mind, so to speak. So last week we talked about a couple things, right? Mm-hmm. One of the first homework assignments was for you to kind of tap into your 10-year-old little boy. So tell us a little bit about that assignment and what you felt about doing that, because you did do the work, which is something that I love. You're my ideal client, because you always take what I'm suggesting, what I'm guiding you with, and you actually go and do the work. And so I do appreciate that. So let's first talk a little bit about the assignment on you as a little boy tapping back into that 10-year-old who was suddenly homeless and couldn't get a hold of his dad and felt abandoned. So tell us a little bit about that.
So yeah, you gave me the assignment to sit and write a note to my 10-year-old self, which took me a while to do because I think I just knew it was going to be some serious work to do, like emotionally and things like that. And that's one thing I've avoided a lot throughout my life is my emotions, how I truly feel about certain things. So once I finally did it, it felt good. You know, it felt almost empowering. There was some sad moments, but also proud moments because I could think back and reflect where I was 10 years old. That's 20 plus years ago. And then where I'm at now, you know, and then also where I could have been easily just based off the life I was given, you know, being raised homeless and all the things I went through. So like I said, it was very like empowering. I really needed it. I'm glad I actually finally, it took me some time.
Yes.
But I'm glad I finally did it and got that out the way.
And that's the thing too. And I shared this with you last week too when we talked. There's no right or wrong way to go through a process when you're being coached by someone, right? And I know you and I had kind of talked off camera and you're like, I know you wanted me to cry. I know you wanted me to tap in. And it's like, no, it's just about me planting little seeds for you, right? And to get it to come up in a way that's going to serve you better than it has been serving you. Because a lot of the stories and the narratives and the things we've been through in our lives carry weight, right? They give us our identity. They create triggers for us in our lives. They suggest things to us when we meet other people. And sometimes we are finding ourselves in repetitive patterns or in certain relationships that are the same or roadblocks with work and progress. And we're like stumped as to why. And so kind of unearthing those things helps us kind of say, oh, okay, this is that limiting belief. This is why I'm all about mindset. This is what I've been telling myself. This is the mantra. And sometimes it's so deep that we don't even know until it's talked about that's been kind of running amok in our life. So, okay, the big thing. You shared with me a situation where your grandmother had she kicked you all out, right?
Mm-hmm.
You, your mother, and your sister. And for years, there was this feeling of abandonment. And if I'm saying the wrong words, you let me know.
Yeah.
Betrayal, confusion as to why, and anger, resentment towards your grandmother. You had also shared that there was a time when your grandfather was sick and that she had put a restraining order against you all for a visitation. And that's when you finally had kind of unleashed on your grandmother. You just went off on her.
Yeah.
So what I had suggested to you, and I gave you an illustration of a misunderstanding that happened in my life with my nephew, was to perhaps go and have a conversation with your grandmother because you have an opening to do so, right? You have an opportunity to do so. Not everybody will have that opportunity, and not everybody will get what they want out of having those conversations, right? Some things are just, they are what they are. Some things are just what they are. But the whole point was never to make that situation deeper rooted and rooted in pain. It's to say, what was the conversation? How do you feel about the conversation? And what can you do moving forward? So you want to tell us about what happened after that show?
Yeah. So last weekend I'm going out to California I had to go meet up with my younger sister. And I thought it'd be a good time to also go see my family. On a Hispanic side and also on Black side, both sides of the family I got to see. And I hadn't seen my grandmother since my grandfather passed. So my grandfather passed of dementia in 2018.
Okay.
And that was the last time I saw her, my aunt, my uncle, any family, you know.
And just for texture, have you had communication with her since then?
Yes, here and there. She texts me happy birthday. I text her happy birthday. It had just passed right before I got out there.
Okay.
So little conversations like that. And so I reached out to her and let her know, hey, I'm coming into town. I'll stop by if you guys are free. Would love to see you guys. So then I get out to California and I go over there.
Well, let me ask you real quick. Now, when you were planning on going, did you plan on going with the conversation in mind?
Yeah.
So was that at the forefront? Like you're
not the forefront, but it was something I definitely wanted to possibly handle or bring up.
Okay.
But I didn't want to force it. I kind of wanted it just to happen. I wanted to more so just kind of enjoy the family time.
Okay.
because I hadn't seen them so long.
Was there anything you did emotionally, mentally, or whatever to prepare yourself for the potential of this conversation?
Kind of what you had told me, going there with, I guess, like no expectations of anything and just be open. And that's what I was. I just went open with it. And so I get out there, I see her, and my aunt are at home. So it's, oh, good to see you, all that kind of stuff. We kind of catch up. They's asking me questions about, what's going on in my life. I asked them about certain people, how certain people are doing. And then my grandmother actually gave me this necklace, like a cross with a cross on it, that my grandfather wanted me to have before he passed away. But when we were out there for the funeral, she didn't have a chance to give it to me, so I didn't even know. So it was great to have something from him now that he's no longer with us. So that happened. It was just catching up, nothing more than that. And then I asked her if, so as we started talking about certain things, and I can tell the time was coming almost to an end, like I had to get out of there, basically, because I had something else to do. And the conversation kind of just came up.
Wait, hold on. What do you mean it just kind of came up? It doesn't. Well,
she was telling me like how glad she is. I've made changes and I've been able to change. Like, oh, because
this is in the back of your mind, right? Now let's just like give it its
it
all
is.
when you tell this story.
It's
not
nonchalant. It is in the back of my mind the whole time. Like, damn, when's am I going to bring it up? When's the right opportunity? My heart's kind of pumping a little bit because I'm like,
because it's a hard conversation.
Yeah. So then she just mentioned something along the lines of, hey. Mentions it's so great to see you, making your changes, and never too late to make changes. That's what life's about. And, I wish there was one person that would finally change. And I kind of knew where she was going with it. I was like, okay, here we go. And it's crazy because no matter what, I could just feel myself ready to be defensive. Because I know when it comes to my mother, it's how I am. But I was like, okay, relax.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to pause you for there. When it comes to my mother, that's how I am.
Yeah.
Right? You said, I know that I knew where this conversation was going. This is important, okay? These are these little, like, again, blind spots. When she started having this conversation, she's already starting to go down a rabbit hole. You know that rabbit hole is going to be a conversation about your mother and her relationship with her.
Yeah.
Right? What I heard you say was, I started to get defensive because when it comes to my mother, I do that. Why is that?
Well, even before I answer that, before it happened, it came up a little bit, and I kind of deflected it. I kind of caught her going that way with the conversation at one point, and I kind of deflected it. I forgot what she said, but I kind of just said something else to kind of
avoid.
Yeah.
Why?
Then I don't know.
Why?
I didn't know if I was ready yet.
Okay.
To get into it. Then when she said it again about people, I wish a certain person would change, and I knew who she was talking about.
Okay.
Remind me the question
now, why
again?
does it bother you though? Why do you feel defensive when you start to hear something negatively being said about your mother?
Is that a trick question?
Not a trick question.
I don't know, because my mom, I don't know. I just love my mom and just always have her back. So
yeah.
It's just, and it's also uncomfortable, I guess, to hear.
Yeah. Why is it uncomfortable? There's no right or wrong answer.
I know, but
just what came to your mind first? Because your eyes moved as though something came to your mind. Is it something that you don't want to say out loud? Because I know we're in a public setting.
No. I think maybe not wanting to, I guess, hear the truth. Yeah, I think that's what it was. And it's what I've avoided too. Almost like confirmation of certain things.
And why is that? What does that mean to you to know that it's the truth? Version of the truth, I should say.
Yeah, that I don't want to say lied to, but kind of manipulated as a kid, or not told the truth of certain things. And because of my mom, I just, as a kid, gotta trust and believe what they say, because they have your best interest at heart.
And you're a protector of your mother.
Yeah.
What was your role as a child with your mom? Did you have the role of a child?
Kinda. I didn't have to take care of her or anything like that, or my younger sister, but I was just out in the streets in a sense. I wasn't like gangbanging or anything like that, but I was never, like I said, we were homeless, so I didn't really want to be home in a hotel room all day. So I was always out, hanging out with friends, always out all day.
Okay. And I guess I asked you that because I remember when we talked last time, you had said something about when I left, I called my dad. And I'm the one who told him we were gone.
Yeah.
And you know, some people would argue and say that's not a child's position to make that call. Yeah, it should have been a call that your mother had made. Some people will say that. What do you feel about that?
I don't know. I never thought about it that way, to be honest.
Yeah. Everything we talk about will bring up different layers of things, right? Because there's layers. And again, the intention is not for it to linger. It's just to kind of bring some awareness to the forefront to say, okay, this little emotion that's this, or this little feeling that's this, these are some of the stories that are kind of the underbelly of what triggers this. And they've just been building, you've been building on those foundations. So it's about kind of doing some deconstructing and reconstructing. Okay. All right. So grandmother starts to go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah. So she started saying, you know, I wish somebody would change. So I was like, okay, let me hear her out. And she just was saying, you know, your mom just doesn't want to change. You know, I would hope after all this time, you know, she would make some changes in her life. And then I was like, you know, I have a question for you. And she's like, what? I was like, why didn't you allow us to stay with you back when the situation happened, when you told us to leave the house? And I can't remember exact verbatim what we said back and forth, but she pretty much said my mom we were able to stay, me and my sister. She didn't want my mom there. Because my mom was making, I'll just say, bad choices with certain things, and she didn't want that in her house. And she let her know and told her, hey, the kids can stay, but I don't want you here because I don't want to lose my house and lose what we have going on over here. And I'm like, oh, okay, shit. Now it's making sense. And my mom's pretty much reaction was like, oh, fuck that. I'm not going to, don't touch my, I'm not leaving my kids here. I'm going to take them with me. And that's where it began. And that's what it was. And it's crazy because a lot of it, I kind of already knew what she had told me.
What do you mean by that?
It's just as a kid, I was kind of very aware of certain things that were happening and going on to a certain extent. But I didn't want to believe. I was like, no way, as a kid. So her telling me these certain things, and then I broke down and cried in front of her and my aunt.
Wow.
Because my aunt was there, and it's my mom's older sister.
Where was the emotion coming from? What was the feeling?
Disappointment. Like I said, I felt like I was lied to and just strung along. Kind of felt stupid too.
Yeah, that's a strong word.
Yeah.
Why stupid? You were a child.
Yeah. But even as an adult, holding that against I had to apologize to her. I was like, look, I'm sorry. I hated you all these years. And I feel dumb for it, because it wasn't.
Okay, let's challenge that, okay? But I want to hear you because it's important that we kind of break this down and see if we can, again, destruct and reconstruct a different way to perceive this. Because now you've just unearthed something new. And that's going to be something that's going to kind of trigger and move some things inside of you a little bit and maybe even shift the lens of your mother. And so I don't want for this experience for you to take you down another path that you don't need to be down, right? And so this is where I said to you, at this stage in your life, as you're learning things, part of what you're learning is also teaching you grace and teaching you some compassion. Because in fairness, right, your mother may have a story of who her mother was to her and why she became the person she became. So there's always these layers upon layers upon layers. What we have to be careful with is that we don't let them be excuses or excusable. It just gives us a lens to say, okay, if I were to see this person as just a person and they are sharing their story, could I have compassion for them and just move forward with my life? Because now you're stuck with feeling certain kind of ways about your mom. Why is the word dumb and stupid the language you're using to describe the experience?
I don't know. It's just how I felt. Like just almost like not misled, but I don't know.
It's okay.
I guess misled, the word I can use. Kind of like, wow, I really believed.
Was there guilt?
No guilt.
Okay.
And the thing is, I had dinner with my mom the day before I went.
Okay.
Didn't mention that I was going to talk to my grandma about anything, but we just had dinner and talked and kind of got asked a few questions, see where she was with my grandma, things like that, because I told her I was going to visit her. And then it was, the next day I went and talked to my grandma.
So how do you feel now? You've had this conversation, you had some clarifications, or her rendition of what was happening at that time, her perception of things and what she felt she needed to do, despite the fact that it was her daughter.
Yeah.
Well, how did you walk away feeling after that, other than dumb and stupid?
I felt, I guess, at ease.
Did you?
Yeah, and kind of confirmed. Good. Like I said, it was some things I kind of already had in the back of my mind that was happening. Mm-hmm. So hear it from her and my aunt, you know what I mean? We got into deeper stuff. It was more than just that situation. It was that whole period of my life when we were homeless. Like, so much was going on. And it was like eye-opening too as well. Like, damn, it was even before I was born. You know what I mean? Some stuff that was happened. So then initially kind of like upset, like, damn, like, what, you know, like, what the fuck?
All right.
But I started shifting my mindset and just thought about it. Like, she was an adult human just making the best decision she could, I guess. And
well, you say you guess. Do you believe that? You think she was making the best decision?
I don't think so, because the decisions are still being made to this day.
So you got to be honest about that then. You don't have to say things that you don't think are true, right? That doesn't make you a bad person. When you get these revelations, you have to go through and mourn what you wanted a mother to be, right? And in order for you to do that, you have to be honest with yourself about how you're actually feeling. So this is when I say, well, why do you say stupid? Why do you say dumb? I'm not here to tell you you shouldn't feel those ways, but these are things that we got to get clarity on, right? Again, and I always say this to you over and over again, your clarity is always going to be your power. But right now, you have to process what you've just learned, because you've been carrying a narrative for over 20 years. And when you're hearing something new because you had an openness to hear that, and you actually had someone who could share that with you, because not everybody's privy to that, it's a lot of processing that has to take place. So you said, I guess she was doing the best that she could do.
Yeah,
here's what ties.
You're right.
And I don't mean to cut you off real quick.
Go ahead.
But I want to say this, because I'm writing stuff down as you're talking to me. I guess she did her best. But one thing that I hear you say often is you're not wanting to believe. So you continue to do this rationalization to make her somebody that she's not. Can you accept that your mother is just not what you feel a mother should have been? Will you be able to accept that without judgment?
I don't know. Trying.
Okay, that's fair.
Trying. Yeah, I don't know.
Or how about just not right now?
Yeah, definitely not right now. And then part of me was like, after hearing all the stuff we had talked about, it's almost like one story versus the other. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But with my mom, as I've been an adult, certain actions and things she's done, it kind of all comes together, makes sense to where I'm like, okay, I know my grandma's not just talking, just saying things just to say them.
Yeah.
2 and 2 = 4. Like, it was all making sense now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And yeah.
So where does that leave your mom?
I don't know. I haven't told her that I talked to my grandma yet.
Okay.
I just told her I went out there and obviously talked to her, but I didn't say about what. Mm-hmm. And a part of me wasn't sure when or how. I was waiting to have a session with you to even if I should bring it up or not. Like, hey, this is what I was told to happen. Because before I went, I asked her, I was like, why didn't she want us to live with her? And she went on in her whole different story.
Of course.
Whole different story.
Yeah.
Whole different story why her and my uncle don't talk anymore. Her and my uncle haven't talked in years and they don't. And my grandma told me that before my grandfather passed, he didn't know either. And it's something deep. I don't know. Nobody in the family knows but my uncle and my mom of why he won't.
Why your
My grandfather
uncle
knows, but he's no longer with us.
Oh. Let me ask you this. We'll start with that. Should I have this conversation with my mom? Should I bring it up?
Are you asking me?
Good. That's something you said that you wanted to discuss with me, right? So this is, I'm writing it down. The first thing you have to do is get clear as to why you want to have the conversation. Every hard conversation you have you have to set the intention before you have it. And again, I say this over and over, without expectation of outcome, right? I don't know where your mother's emotional intelligence levels are. I don't know what's happened to her in her life. I don't know why these are some of the things that people are saying about her. But she most certainly has a story, correct? That has led her down a pathway to be this type of character in your life, okay? And so when you say, should I, what would the outcome that you need, because let me rephrase the question, because I don't want you to measure outcome. But what would be the reason why you feel, knowing what you know about your mother, knowing how she responds to things, what do you feel would be the reason why you would have this conversation with her?
I don't think there is one. As I said it just now, I thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing out of it's going to make me change. I don't think anything drastically of how I feel. I kind of I'm accepting it for what it is, to be honest. Because I mean, regardless of the answer I get, it's not going to, I don't know. I don't think it's going to benefit me or anything in any kind of way. I think I got to go back to what you said, is accepting she wasn't the mother I needed.
Right.
And that's just who she is. And we could say all that stuff all we want, but it's about the actions. And her actions over years and years have proven pretty much the kind of person she is.
Could you love that person?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
What do you mean by you think so?
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
I can.
Why can you?
Good question.
You want me to give you a hint?
Yeah.
Because your love is your abundance. It's what you have to give, not what you get. And the more we tap into understanding that that's how our cup is full, then we can pour into others who don't have the same capacity, right? You get to love your mother regardless of her shortcomings in her life, because that's the choice you get to make. And that is you being powerful from the inside out, because you can pour that out. Again, I don't know her story or her background, but from what has been said to me on camera, off camera, and things like that, there's this inner child of her that's playing it out in her life. There's some place in her that's stuck. And your mother isn't going to be a person, regardless of how hurtful it is. She's not a hurtful person because she's happy and she's full of love and she's secure in who she is. She is doing the things that she does out of a very empty space in her life. And that's for anybody who is hurting other people, especially when they're doing it in a way that they're not even realizing that this is the impact I'm having because of choices I'm making. You know, a lot of people do that. I had a guy on the show and I will never forget what he said when he said, I had good intentions, but I didn't realize the impact. And some people don't have a capability of being accountable. And when you say, should I have that conversation with your mother, she may not be an accountable person. What I have found for me personally is that sometimes when people are not accountable is because they're dealing with an incredible amount of guilt and shame. Shame is a very ugly thing that a lot of us carry. And when people approach us that we know that we've hurt or that we feel ashamed about what we've done, we get defensive. We want to give them excuses. We shut down. We run amok. We sometimes do sabotaging behaviors to push people away because we don't want to deal with the feeling of guilt and shame. And where does that leave the recipient of that? It leaves them feeling empty, not validated, frustrated, overwhelmed, and all of these things. So we have to be very careful to say, well, I do want to have this conversation. And I think it's important to have them if you can. But it's equally as important to be clear as to why you're doing it. To get all the pieces of the puzzle together and put the pieces, you may not ever get that. You'll be chasing all kinds of stuff. You know, there's always a big box of 1,000 pieces of puzzle and you miss that one little piece and you'll feel your whole life is not fulfilled because you can't fit that piece. So you can't chase it for that. So if I can suggest, if you do ever decide to have the conversation with her, just to ease your mind a little bit, do it from a perspective of, I'm going to bring this up to her. I'm going to share how it made me feel. And I'm going to be open to maybe asking her if we can build something from this point on. She's never going to get to be the mother for you that you needed as a kid because you're no longer a child. She may not ever be able to give you any kind of mothering. But you can say to her in your truth, I know the truth now, Mom. And I was always afraid of what I already knew, because that's freeing you, right? Because there's a part of you that was denying a lot of things because, like you said, I didn't want to believe it. And that's a layer that you and I are going to have to like really tap into, why you avoid. Because when things are facing you, you're not wanting to believe something that you know is already there, so you kind of already knew. There's an avoidance in there, and I have a suspicion that you probably trickle that into other things in your life too. So it's not necessarily about getting all the stories aligned. What did grandpa, why is uncle this, and getting in the family gossip of what happened in people's lives. The intention is to say, let me get a better understanding of the dynamics of the people that I've been surrounded of and how that's impacting my life. And let me start to separate, because everything's intertwined right now. So again, I'm being redundant, intertwining stories, finding out the scoop. Grandpa's dead. He knows the secret of this and that. That's the gossip. That's the stuff that's going to judge people. It doesn't serve you that way. You just need to know how the dynamic is affecting you as a person today. And as you have these conversations, you can pay attention to say, oh, grandma likes to go down the rabbit hole about my mom. Grandma and mom need to fix that. That's on them. That's their relationship. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to judge it. Auntie and whatever, sister and whomever. Every relationship is just as unique as your thumbprint, right? I'm one person. When I die, everybody that knew me will feel a different way about me being gone, because every relationship is so unique. The journey for you right now is that you're pouring into you, growing into this great man. And, I always tell you, I'm trying to be, I'm going to be. It's like, no, you're growing to be. And all of these little things, okay, I can see the character trait here. That's something I do. Oh, I can see when grandma goes on this rabbit hole, it's a trigger for me. And these are things, what am I learning? What am I learning? What am I learning? Who are these people? Does that make sense? Yeah. So, are you going to have that conversation with your mom?
I don't know. I'll think about it a little more. Not in a rush for it.
Yeah.
Still plan to go back out more often now and mend those relationships out there. Because growing up as a kid, my aunt and uncle, I was very close to them. It wasn't until the homelessness happened, we moved to Vegas and all the stuff, that it was like almost taking my mom's side and not mad at them, but just kind of almost feeling like I'd be turning my back on my mom if I was to be, cordial with them. But she always lets me know, I don't want to take you from them ever. Like, you can always have a relationship with them. So it was cool to actually sit there and talk to my uncle. I haven't talked to him in years, because even at the funeral, it wasn't like all good, because of the drama. And so it was good to sit down with him and hear his stories and hear what he's doing and stuff like that. And he gave me some real good inspiration, just being able to talk to him. He's 58, Cholo, and it's just funny to see. It was good to see him.
Well, I want to close with this, and then you and I will be doing a lot of work off camera with some of the things, and I've been writing some notes down. The last thing I heard you say was, I need to go back and mend these relationships. It's not your responsibility to do that. Just be. I am letting things go, and I'm starting a new chapter with these wonderful people in my life. I want to get to know who they are today. Do not go there feeling like you got to mend and sew and fix all of these things. You were a child. A lot of what you experience and your judgment from them came from a child's perspective. You are now a man, and you are an open man to your growth. You don't need to mend. You just need to go and move forward and just be with them. All right? Don't put that burden. The thing that I am trying to get you to not feel anymore is that you're a burden. And by creating these narratives of I need to mend, it creates a burden in that relationship with those people, with your family. All right? Does that make sense?
It does.
So we're not going to use the word mend. I'm just going to go and be amongst them because they make me happy and I make them happy. And I'm just going to pour love into them moving forward. All right?
Yep.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
I know we had 30 minutes to do this, but
okay,
everybody's been asking for the part 2, so I wanted to put it out there. And I appreciate you, and I say that over and over again, but I do appreciate you. You're a very great demonstration of a very strong man. because you're allowing yourself to feel and to be open and to be emotional and to share that with me, a woman of all things, right? And so I'm very proud of you, Dorian. I really am. And I really appreciate doing this journey with you.
Of course.
All right. So I'll see you off the cameras. All right. And until next time, do not forget to hit the subscription button, and thank you. We'll take your comments. If you want to be on the show and you want to do a whole coaching thing, I'm opening up that platform to start coaching people live on camera if you're comfortable doing so. So if that is something you might want to do, hit me up on my website or message me. All the information's in the descriptions below. And until next time, ciao.